Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends, welcome to Denmark, welcome to Sønderborg, welcome to the 7th Annual IEA Global Conference on Energy Efficiency. It is a conference held at the right time, and if you will excuse me my lack of modesty, in the right place. The right time because, unfortunately, we are in the middle of both an energy crisis due to the war in Ukraine and, of course, a climate crisis. And we desperately need solutions to both. The right place because Denmark in general, and Sønderborg specifically, for decades now, has developed some of the solutions that we need. Denmark is far from perfect. We still have a long way to go. But we've taken big steps towards greening our society, making us less dependent of fossil fuels. When media from different countries go to Denmark to tell this story, most often they will insist on going to film the offshore wind farms, and for good reason. We were the first country in the world to build an offshore wind farm. And they look good on TV. The new generation of wind turbines are around 250 meters tall. But actually, that's only a part of the Danish story. If you want the full picture, maybe instead of going out on the sea, freezing on a boat, instead they should go visit a normal Danish home. Sit in the nice warm living room and film this. A thermostat. It's not 250 meters tall. In fact, it's not even 250 millimeters tall. But it's important. You all probably know it. You install it on your radiator and it helps you control the temperature of the room. And therefore, it helps you save energy. In Denmark, these are found in all homes. But in many countries of this world, that is not the case. So this is a very concrete and tangible example of technology that is cheap, that is easy to utilize, and that we should spread to all homes across the planet. Now, chances are that if you are in a Danish home, the heat that's being controlled by this thermostat is actually district heating. This means that very often the source is excess heat from waste incineration, data centers, or industrial production. And this is important, because energy efficiency is not only about saving energy, using less of it. It's also about how you use it, how many times you use it. During the next couple of days, we will discuss not only the need to do more, not only the necessity of being better, but also the concrete ways that we can deliver. We will learn from each other. We will inspire and be inspired. We will ask the tough questions and hopefully find many of the answers. In Denmark, the travel towards a more energy efficient society began almost 50 years ago. You can probably guess what sparked it: the oil crisis. In a few months, the prices of oil quadrupled, a landmark event that led to the founding of the IEA, and that led to changes in many countries. In Denmark, we definitely had to do desperate things. The speed limit was reduced, and on Sundays, you couldn't even drive your car at all. In most cities, the streetlights were turned off in the evening, and Danish families got familiar with taking cold showers instead of long, warm baths. That made us think, how do we become energy independent? And that started the Green Revolution in Denmark before anybody really knew that it was green. We started developing a renewable energy sector, and hundreds of companies became interested in energy efficiency, either because they wanted to save energy in their own production, or because they invented and manufactured technology and solutions that others could use. And the rest, as you say, is history. Today, Danish companies export their solutions to all over the world, making money, creating jobs, and helping others. Because really, that is what you do if you are a company that sells energy-efficient solutions. You make a living helping others. Investments in energy efficiency are exactly that, investments. It's not a cost that you have to write off. In most cases, the investment will pay itself in a few years, and after that, it will actually make you money. So friends, EE is a win-win-win. It helps us towards a high level of energy security. It helps us save the climate, and we will make money doing it. The potential is huge. As you'll learn today, the IEA estimates that with faster efforts in energy efficiency, we will be able to save 28 million barrels of oil a day. 28 million barrels of oil a day. That's almost 3 times as much as Russia's current daily oil production. Or put differently, 660 billion cubic meters of natural gas per year. That's 4 times as much gas as the EU imports from Russia. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Once again, welcome to Denmark, welcome to Sønderborg. I hope you will enjoy the city. I don't know if you know this, but it's a very ambitious city when it comes to fighting climate change. They have decided to become carbon neutral by 2029. And I'm confident that they will deliver on this promise. The people of Sønderborg are proud people, and they've been so for hundreds and hundreds of years. Had you visited 1,000 years ago, you wouldn't have seen men in suits like this. You would have seen men with beards and helmets. This is Viking country. Now, at that time, the Danish Vikings, they controlled most of Northern Europe. And do you know how they were so successful? How they managed to go to America 500 years before Christopher Columbus? They even went to Greenland. The answer, actually, is energy efficiency. First of all, they exploited the wind. They put tremendous efforts into making sails for their ships. It took as long time for them to make the sail as it did to make the ship, and it was just as important. But we also know that the Vikings' buildings were painted in bright white. Why? Well, one reason that the historians mention is that they probably did it because it could then be seen from a long distance. So it served as a status symbol and as a beacon. But other historians argue that probably that wasn't the most important reason. The theory is that Harald Bluetooth and his fellow Vikings whitewashed the houses both inside and out because it provided effective insulation and good indoor climate. Now, that is a theory that I like. Friends, I wish you all a fruitful conference. I did tell my staff to start clapping there, so. Thank you so much. Now, it is an extreme honor to give the floor to my very dear friend, a leader and an inspiration to us all, Executive Director of the IEA, Dr. Fatih Birol. Welcome.
Ministers, distinguished participants, friends, colleagues, very good morning to all of you. Welcome to International Energy Agency's 7th Annual Global Conference on Energy Efficiency. Very many thanks to these hundreds of colleagues, friends being here with us in Sonderborg, and many of you following this event online around the world. Minister Jorgensen, thank you very much for your leadership, for organizing this event, but also beyond this, in the fight against climate change, pushing the clean energy transition. Denmark is an exemplary country. As I said once, I think Denmark is one of those countries, perhaps the leading one, that is punching above its weight when it comes to clean energy transition. Offshore wind, yes, but energy efficiency and other clean energy technology. And also looking at the energy issues beyond your borders and understanding that energy and climate, these are global challenges. Many thanks, Dan, for your leadership here and also for this meeting. Dear colleagues, International Energy Agency is an intergovernmental organization. Our family members, more than 40 countries, governments around the world. And we work with the private sector very carefully and very closely. I rarely mention any private company by name, but today I would like to thank Danfoss and CEO Kim Fossing very much. Great job. Thank you very much for helping us to facilitate this meeting. Thank you very much. And when I look at the participant list I got from my colleague, Brian Motherway, who is our energy efficiency guru, I was very impressed. We have about 30 ministers around the world, CEOs, delegations from all the continents. And some of them traveled very long distances. I saw Minister Tasrif here coming from Indonesia, from Jakarta, a country who is this year leading the G20. Then we have of course, Madam Commissioner Simpson. Thank you very much, Madam Commissioner, being with us today. From the other side of the world, I saw this morning from distance Megan Woods, the New Zealand minister. German Secretary of Energy, Patrick Gratian, the country who is in charge of G7. I met yesterday the Panama minister, delegations from Bangladesh, Senegal, Mexico, government officials. This is really the best one. When I talked with Brian, by the way, he is one of my first hires when I became the head of the IEA, I told Brian, we have oil meetings, gas meetings, why don't we have an annual energy efficiency conference? It was a very small one. I first remembered about 20 to 25 colleagues, and now it is hundreds of colleagues, ministers, and also a lot of best practices to learn from each other in these meetings. Thank you very much, Brian, to you as well. Now, when I receive my notes from the colleagues, speaking notes, I am not as lucky as Dan, getting a lot of speeches almost every day. I look at one of the lines, it says that, it is in the IEA, one of our narratives, unlike oil or gas or renewables, energy efficiency never makes headlines in the papers. This was, and when I studied my speech this morning, I thought it was, as of this morning, was completely wrong. Because this morning, when I look at the papers, the Financial Times headlines is about energy efficiency, about this meeting. I don't want to mention other papers, but many mainstream media cover this meeting, and energy efficiency is in the headlines. So this is another significance of this. Thank you very much to all of you. Now, dear colleagues, Minister Jorgensen mentioned we are having an energy crisis, and in my view, this is the first global energy crisis the world is facing. We are in the middle of the first global energy crisis. Yes, we had energy crisis in 70s, but it was mainly, in fact, exclusively oil. But now we have oil, we have gas, we have coal, we have electricity crisis all coming together. But despite the challenges we are facing, I believe this crisis may well be a turning point in energy policy making for the next years to come. And I would like to give you one reasoning why I am hopeful that it can be a turning point. In the 1970s, when we had the high oil prices going up, we had inflation like today. We had economic recession that we may be entering very soon. But at the same time, there was a big change in the government policy making. And one of the changes was on energy efficiency. I give you one example. In the 1970s, an average car in the world needed about 18 liters to drive 100 kilometers. 18 liters to drive 100 kilometers. As a response to the high oil prices and the crisis we are facing, governments took measures, fuel standards, auto industry, car manufacturers move, and less than a decade, instead of 18 liters, an average car in the world needed less than 10 liters to drive 100 kilometers. A huge change, and many governments, the European, the Asian, the Americas, everywhere participated to this. And I expect we can again, this crisis may be another reason for a change. We are seeing very difficult times around the world. Prices are at unacceptable levels. And I am sure Madam Commissioner will mention, but in Europe, the main customer of Russia, we may have very difficult days to come. I am especially worried about the natural gas markets and this winter. If we have a harsh and long winter, we may see very difficult days. It is the reason we came up with a 10-point plan. What can we do in a hurry to reduce the gas demand? We made some practical suggestions to governments, and some of them are many of them related to energy efficiency and the change in the behavior. And one of them is very much in line with Dan mentioned about the thermostat. We have calculated that if the European consumers reduce their temperature at home by 2 degrees Celsius, only 2 degrees Celsius, the amount of natural gas we could save is about 20 BCM, which is equal to the natural gas coming from Russia to Europe through Nord Stream 1 major artery of pipeline. So we would save just 2 degrees lower equivalent of the Nord Stream 1 delivery. I am also worried about the oil markets, I should say, especially this summer. Many oil products around the world may well be seeing a tightness. Why I say summer? Because in the driving season, demand goes up, especially for diesel, gasoline, and maybe even jet fuel. And here we have also a very, in my view, practical suggestion, and putting this in a context. Just reducing in the advanced economies, reducing the speed limits by 10 kilometers per hour, 10 kilometers per hour would mean we would save about 500,000 barrels per day of oil, which is equal to what the OPEC Plus countries said they are going to increase their production, which I welcome, that of course the promise of production. But again, we can reduce the speed limits by 10 kilometers per hour, which is equivalent to OPEC Plus countries' production increase promises. So there are things that in our hands. And these are some immediate responses to the crisis, but there can be some structural ones. Our analysis we published this morning shows a very clear message. It says very clearly, without new technologies, with all the existing technologies, all the technical niveau we are in, if the countries were perform the best practices for cars, for trucks, for home appliances, if they just have the right efficiency policies, in the next 7 years, the world will save energy equal to entire energy consumption of China. So just again, we don't need innovation. We of course need innovation, but just to reach that saving, just with the existing technologies today, we just need to have the right policies, right regulation, and right incentive. So this is something shows me how important energy efficiency is, and I don't know any other solution like energy efficiency that can simultaneously address our economic crisis, energy crisis, and climate crisis problems, simultaneously, all of them. And it is the reason we are, at the IEA, we are saying energy efficiency is the very first fuel. Now, dear colleagues, one other example we are going to discuss this afternoon is on cooling. This is an area that we are working since a few years. In many countries, in India, Southeast Asia, in Middle East, Africa, cooling is the #1 driver of electricity consumption, with big difference. Cooling, air conditioners. And yet, the issue is the following. In Southeast Asia, only 15% of the households have air conditioners. In India, less than 10%. In Africa, less than 5%. Whereas in Japan, United States, over 90%. And those countries with low ownership levels are those who need much more cooling than the rich countries. With the increasing income levels, with the increasing needs, those households will hopefully buy air conditioners, and which in turn will increase the electricity consumption, which in turn puts pressure on building new power plants, which means money, maybe, depending on emissions and so on. However, the very tragic fact that in the Southeast Asia, an air conditioner requires about 3 times more electricity compared to Japan to provide the same comfort because of being inefficient, not having the norms and standards. If those air conditioners would have the same level of existing air conditioner standards and norms, they will require less electricity, and we need to build less power plants with less challenges. And I think this is another important factor we have to take into account. Coming towards my remarks, when I look at today international policy making, in many meetings I discuss with the governments. Last week, the week before, in Davos, for example, so many discussions on energy crisis, and overwhelming of the solutions are on the supply side. We don't have enough oil, we don't have enough gas because of this. Because where can I find additional oil? Where can I find additional gas? Is the coal is the answer? Additional coal is the answer to replace gas? These are the solutions that the government leaders are looking into. Of course, this is part of the solution. We have looked at these options, but there is not enough emphasis or thought on the demand side solutions, energy efficiency. This is very important. As much as we look at the supply side solutions, finding a replacement in the short term, replacement to the missing oil and gas, important for the economy, we have to see how we can reduce the demand. It is the reason why International Energy Agency is very keen to support the governments here. So this meeting in Sonderborg is for me, dear colleagues, a meeting of hope, because it comes at a time where 3 very important drivers come together at the same time for energy efficiency that we have never seen in the last 50 years. Economic drivers, climate commitments, and national security, energy security factors. These 3 coming together is a very powerful combination. And I am very hopeful that we will see energy efficiency will be now in the menu of many governments to take measures to address this crisis. I am, on behalf of the International Energy Agency, I can commit myself and my colleagues that we will accelerate our work on energy efficiency in big time, because we think it is not only to address our climate challenges, but for energy security and reducing the bill of the consumers, it is a critical issue. And here in Sonderborg, I want to finish by saying that I remember only a few years ago, there was a debate. Is it Riyadh or is it Houston, the capital of world oil? It's a lively discussion, and this is, of course, look at the numbers, it's a good discussion. I don't know how this discussion ended up or not, but I can assure you, as we stand here today, Sonderbach is the global capital of energy efficiency as of today. Thank you very much.
So, that was a pretty good start to this conference at the global capital of energy efficiency. Now we move on to our first plenary, titled The Value of Early Action on Energy Efficiency. And I'd like the different panelists to come up and join us here at stage. First of all, European Commissioner for Energy, Kadri Simson. Minister for Energy and Mineral Resources from Indonesia, Arifin Tasrif. And of course, CEO of Danfoss, Kim Fausing. And the first speaker that I'd like to invite to use this podium is Kadri. Welcome.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Fatih, dear Dan, thank you for the opportunity to be here today and talk about the topic that I believe is key for the future of the global energy sector. Energy is a complex area of life at the best of times. On one hand, highly technical, strongly linked to technology as well as natural and financial resources. On the other hand, always intertwined with geopolitics and the global power dynamics. But I believe we have rarely seen our energy system facing as many challenges as it is facing today. It has been 105 days since Russia's barbaric invasion of Ukraine started, and vicious attacks on an independent country and innocent people continue. Apart from the human tragedy that Putin has caused, the war has triggered volatility and uncertainty on already tight energy markets, with prices reaching historically high levels. And in parallel, the effects of climate change are already clear across the globe and demand action. There are no easy solutions for challenges like this and on this scale, but there are parts of the solution that should be no-brainers, and energy efficiency is one of them. As has already been said, and I'm sure will be repeated many times over, using less energy will increase our energy security, help bring down prices and reduce our carbon footprint. Not only that, every euro, dollar, rupee, pound, or hryvnia invested in energy efficiency will give a boost to our struggling economies and create green new jobs, often locally in places where they are badly needed. Energy efficiency has long been the foundation of EU's security and energy security policy and a central pillar of the European Green Deal. Now it has become even more crucial. As a response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the EU has decided to rapidly reduce our dependence on Russian fossil energy and end it as soon as possible. And to achieve that, the Commission has adopted the REPowerEU plan, which was endorsed by the European leaders in the end of May. The plan has three main strands. First, the diversification of energy supplies. Second, an accelerated rollout of renewables. And third, saving energy, both through short-term energy saving measures and longer-term more structural improvements in energy efficiency. It is clear that no matter how hard we work to speed up renewable deployment and to find alternative energy supplies, getting rid of dependence on Russian imports, still this decade, and well, earlier than the end of the decade, it will be impossible without saving energy. As the IEA's research shows, faster global action on efficiency now would by 2030 avoid the use of around 28 million barrels of oil per day, and this is the same volumes that Russia produces. And the figure of gas and coal are also relatively impressive that we can save globally. So this is why one important part of the REPowerEU is our Save Energy communication designed to boost EU's energy efficiency and saving measures and reap the benefits that come with them. And saving energy directly reduces our energy bills and makes our economy more resilient because, to put it bluntly, the higher the demand, the higher the prices, and this is key as high energy prices have already hurt our consumers and all industrial sectors, not only Europe but globally. So our plan focuses on achieving immediate energy savings through behavioral changes, which could cut gas and oil demand by 5%. And we have proposed to make additional funding available for REPowerEU objectives under the Recovery and Resilience Facility. The loans and grants together will amount to almost 300 billion euros. And we estimate that 56 billion will be needed to additional investment for energy saving measures and energy efficiency measures, including for the deployment of heat pumps in buildings, but also in industry and district heating systems. Ladies and gentlemen, the current state of the world does not offer much cause for celebration, but I am convinced that in the energy sector, we must use this momentum to make choices that will serve us well for the decades to come. And this includes making energy efficiency a true global priority. Reducing the global energy demand offers many important benefits for climate, environment, and economy, as well as for people's health, living conditions, and welfare. And the developed countries must lead the way when it comes to energy savings, while emerging and developing countries can avoid the resource-intensive solutions and build more efficient and sustainable energy systems that enhance the well-being of their citizens. The IEA has been a pioneer of this field and offers a platform for all of us to work together. Today's conference is an excellent example of that, and the cooperation between European Union and IEA has been closer than ever in recent months. On 21st of April, we presented together a series of actions that can help Europeans save money and reduce reliance on energy imports from Russia. But by doing that, we will also support Ukraine and help the planet. And we often underestimate the impact that savings and efficiency can have. As the IEA has calculated, simply adjusting boiler settings can save 8% of energy used to heat rooms and water and cut household bills. Or when we look at the cumulative effect of current EU eco-design and energy labeling rules, it means 10% less energy consumed by these products per year compared to the energy consumption that is annually consumed, for example, in one of our biggest member states, in Poland. So there are many more examples that I could pick, and many steps we can take to waste less. And I believe that this is a moment to reconsider the ways we do things and use energy, finding solutions that ultimately improve our lives rather than limit them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katri. Now, historically, sometimes the European Union has been criticized when it comes to energy policy and environment protection and climate policy for representing the lowest common denominator. Now, that might be true in the past, but definitely no longer. I think that it's appropriate that we thank you for your leadership. The Fit for 55 package is extremely ambitious. With regards to energy efficiency, even in a country like Denmark, we will be pushed for us to fulfill the standards in your proposal. So thank you so much for that. I think we should give a round of applause to the Commission. And now the difficult question. Because I think it's obvious for most people in this room that part of the solution to the energy crisis that we're in now will be energy efficiency. But to be honest, I have also heard colleagues from other countries saying, well, how can you even think about new regulation now that we are in the middle of a crisis? There's war in Europe. What would your answer be to those concerned colleagues?
Well, I think that we have to take care of the immediate risks, and we do have preparedness plans for this heating season.
Yes.
But, well, whatever happens in our closest neighborhood, even if Ukraine prevails, we should not end in the same situation where we are so dependent on imported fossil fuels. So in medium term, we have to replace imports with homegrown renewables, and where we can, we have to save. So our regulation, well, for example, that targets our building stock, is necessary to help also households to take care of their household bills, heating bills, and in this regard, I can assure you that our 27 member states, all of them have informed us that they will use big share of their recovery funds exactly for energy efficiency activities. And majority of them will support those households who are struggling with their heating bills to renovate their homes.
Yes, I very much agree. Does any of our other panelists want to ask the Commissioner a question? It's rare that you get this opportunity, at least in front of a few hundred people. Kim, do you have anything?
Well, I mean, so it's very clear that when we do look at energy efficiency, it's going hand in hand with more renewables and so on. So I would really like to hear also from an EU perspective how you see that we can, because it's a little bit more nerdy on energy efficiency than it's spontaneously easy to understand. We put a wind park in the North Sea. How can we more encourage the energy efficiency story in an EU perspective?
Well, we have introduced our plan how we will get rid of Russian imports as soon as possible. And indeed, we will prioritize electrification where we can and savings. And then there are some risks that we see that will hold us back. One of them is our grid, our electricity grid, because that needs significant investment so that all those industrial facilities or households can switch from fossil fuels to electricity. The other one is supply chain. That's why, this location is so extremely important, that basically all those equipments that you do need to opt for cleaner solutions are not coming from third countries, but partially we can supply ourselves. And then, of course, the third the challenge is permitting. So it is a nice vision that we will build 6 times more offshore wind farms in next 7 years, but permitting is something that we have to take care of. And now on energy savings, well, this is a necessary solution because we will not find sufficient volumes of alternative gas supplies globally to replace Russian volumes. We will not be able to produce so fast sufficient alternative electricity supplies without savings. We will not make it. And that's why I think your event, 7th annual event, gained such a prominence, because this is really now a key action for all of us.
I very much agree, and if I can just add one point, which is that we need a lot of renewables, obviously, But in Denmark, for instance, it takes an average 7.5 years to build an offshore wind farm, and I think we're probably one of the fastest countries in the world. So even if we decide it now, it's not going to be there tomorrow. And the good news with most energy efficiency measures is that they will work also in the short term. You can implement them now and see the result already maybe next winter. Now, something that I've been looking forward to welcome our friend, traveled all the way from Indonesia. Thank you so much for that. Minister Tasrif, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Mr. Dan Jorgensen, Dr. Fatih Biro, and all the panelists here, honorable participants. Thank you for inviting us to be here to share several information, getting information, what can we do together to face the target of net zero emission. Indonesia, as a presidency of G20, we are preparing such kind of program that we hope during the presidency we can deliver such kind of communique which is supported by all parties, all countries. We did several programs in order to be together to reach the target of net zero emission. As you know, the Sustainable Development Goals, number 7, aim to double the rate of improvement in energy efficiency globally by 2030. To achieve this goal, several strategies must be taken, including decarbonization, massive clean energy utilization, and our target is to reduce final energy intensity by 1% every year, and energy saving consumptions by 17% in 2025 from business as usual. We believe with the support with all friends who are attending here that we can achieve a better position. To achieve the goal, the implementation of those strategies must be inclusive, also taking industrial, transportation, as well as household sector into account. For Indonesia, energy efficiency in the industrial sector implemented through we set such a government regulation on energy conservation as well as efficiency on energy supply. We implement energy standards in management system for government buildings and international airports. Several regulations on energy efficiency on buildings, as well as Indonesian national standard on energy conservation also being introduced to public. In addition to that, a roadmap for green building is currently under preparation, promoting net zero energy building concept, and high efficient appliances are continued to be implemented as part of our strategy to achieve energy efficiency target. We implement the online monitoring report on energy efficiency for industry and digital system to monitor real-time operation of power generation, as well as transmission and distribution to maintain reliable and efficient operation. Indonesia, we've been excess of oil and gas production, but currently we have to import oil due to our source was depleted, and there is still not the new exploration, new big source being developed. So we do several things, especially to reduce our fuel consumption. For instance, that we convert our diesel to gas. We still have plenty of gases, and then we still producing more gases. We convert the diesel to gas in the location of eastern part, remote area. We target to reduce this conversion by 3.5 gigawatt equivalent by 2025. Then also we tried to find the source of renewable, and in the future, this area will be supported by renewable. In the transportation sectors, we are in the program to convert our vehicles. There are recently about 15 million of four-wheel vehicles and 120 million two-wheel vehicles. Our short program is how we can develop the industry to support the conversion of combustion system into battery system. If we multiply 120 million units, which is consuming 2 liters per day of fuel, it means that we burn 120 million liters of oil. It equivalent close to 1.5 million barrels per day. So we will give another share to the target Dr. Fatih mentioned before, 28 million barrels per day. And then meanwhile also, we are not importing diesel fuel anymore because we carry the program of B30, where we mix our crude palm oil with such an amount of solar and methanol, and then we introduce the new fuel, it is B30, and then recently we also carried further research on how we can produce furthermore downstream of our palm oil to be used as the energy alternative. Besides of that, in order to have a better energy efficiency in our system, we have to improve our infrastructures. Indonesia is an archipelagic country. We have 17,000 islands, where 6,000 islands are inhabitants. We have to fulfill demand of the people who live in this area with enough electricity supply. We have quite potential, huge source of renewable, especially solar, wind, geothermal, and then hydro that we can use, but they were all spread it all over the country, so we have to provide such kind of a big transmission system in order to distribute this clean new energy from the production source to the market source. So, dear participants, what we thought the challenge is quite big, especially the energy crisis recently that we are facing with. So we have to share, working together in order to achieve our common goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much, Minister. Now, Indonesia, of course, is one of the most important countries on the planet with regards to energy policy, so we are so proud to have you here. And I'm sure we'll learn a lot from you in the days to come. But can I maybe ask you, what do you personally hope to gain from this conference?
As I mentioned, that this conference attended by many parties from technology side, from financial sides, from the policy sides. So I think the discussion and sharing information and that in order to support each other is very important.
Thank
so
you.
open information is very important for us together.
Indeed. Thank you so much. And now we have a pre-recorded video from the UN Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to speak to you as you meet in Sonderborg, a pioneer in resilience and net zero solutions. The latest IPCC reports bring a stark warning. We are on a path to global heating of more than double the Paris Agreement's 1.5 degree limit. Our planet has already passed 1.2 degrees with devastating consequences everywhere. Half of humanity is already in the danger zone. The need for accelerating the deployment of renewable energy and promoting energy efficiency is increasingly urgent. Minimizing energy demand is critical to keeping 1.5 alive. Increased energy efficiency is one of the quickest immediate wins. We need to rapidly implement energy efficiency improvements this decade. If not, total energy consumption could be 1/3 higher in 2030, significantly increasing the risk of climate catastrophe. At COP26, all countries committed to reviewing and revising national climate commitments that are not in line with the 1.5-degree goal of the Paris Agreement. I call on those at this global conference and the International Energy Agency to act as first movers. G20 nations account for 80% of global emissions. Increased ambition and leadership from these nations is needed now. But all should make energy efficiency commitments with greater accountability and ambition in NDCs, as well as through the UN's flexible multi-stakeholder energy compacts. We must reshape this decade's climate action from let's do a bit to let's go full throttle. There are many possible actions. Governments could initiate a wave of renovation of public buildings. The private sector could spark a revolution in how it reuses excess heat, for example, from supermarkets or data centers. Regulators could revisit tax incentives, including rebates, to drive private sector energy efficiency measures. And we could all turn down the thermostat by just 1 degree Celsius during the heating season and up by 1 degree Celsius in the cooling season. The benefits are clear. Improved energy efficiency in homes, offices, and factories provides the triple benefit of lower consumer costs, lower fuel imports, and lower emissions. Efficiency is also a local jobs multiplier. It can decouple economic growth from energy demand and, in turn, reduce emissions and improve quality of life for millions of people. But to achieve the Paris Agreement, SDG 7, and net zero emissions, we must all act now. Finally, let me take this opportunity to recognize the International Energy Agency for its bold vision. Please stay the course. I urge you all to stay engaged, raise ambition, and continue to act to reach our common goals. Thank you.
So you remember I said that this is Viking country. Well, I think most Danes would also say that this is Danfoss country, because this is the home of one of the leading energy efficiency companies, definitely in Denmark, but dare I say also in Europe and even in the world. And Kim, before I give you the floor, I'd just like to say a huge thank you on behalf of me and the IEA. Fatih already mentioned it in his speech, but we could not have done this without you and your team. You have put a lot of work and resources into this meeting, so thank you so much for that, and let's give a round of applause again for Danfoss. And now I offer you the floor.
Thank you. So thank you very much, and Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear fellow panelists. We are very excited to have you here in Sonderborg. I want to start out really directing a very deep thank you for the leadership, thought leadership, the focus of the IEA for setting a very strong direction for energy efficiency. I want to thank also you, Dan, the Danish Climate Minister, for really taking a leading role. It is making a difference, and I want to thank you for the cooperation that made it possible to be here. And I just want to say with a smile on my lip, Fatih, if you wanted to say one sentence that would bring the smiles out here in Sonderborg, it is to be the global capital of energy efficiency. So thank you very much for that. Still, we have to remain very humble because we have a lot of work to do. So Danfoss today, yes, we are a global technology provider. So we are a climate technology company where we provide solutions, definitely in energy efficiency, in our infrastructure, lots of areas in our infrastructure, but also driving renewables, technology for renewables, and electrifying the world, moving out of the fossil world. So I think at least now, I do not plan anymore to talk about the why, because I think it has been positioned here excellently why energy efficiency is so important and why energy efficiency has to be one of the core movements areas that we need to move on. So the message is very, very clear. What we can offer to the discussion and over these days, hopefully also inspiration, is more on the how. So it is more the action part. You know, as we say, seeing is believing. It's great to hear about the key priorities, but it's much more convincing to see how we're actually doing. It's not magic, and therefore I personally really appreciate that coming to Sonderborg was a focus this year. At least I believe when you are here, coming then from the airport to the inner city is significantly easier than had you put it in some of the more, you could say, large cities in the world. But coming here really is coming to a city where we have a very clear vision of decarbonizing Sonderborg and the region until 2029. Right now we have reduced around 52% of our carbon footprint in the city. And it is not magic. It is cooperation and work. And we say here, you know, teamwork always beats any individual approaches. And here we work together across the companies, on the private side, with the public side, municipal government, and we go in this with a very clear plan. It's no magic, it's a very clear plan how we address buildings, how we address transportation. We have ferries sailing out from here, they become electrical, and if you have time, you have even chance to see them. We drive efficiency, we drive efficient production of materials, building materials, climate products, and so on. So we are very, very clear about it, and here you have the examples, and I hope this can serve to some inspiration for all of you. And that's all we really want to do, to really step up and make a difference, because it takes energy efficiency. We have, and you said it, Fatih, we have no other good ideas how to curb this energy situation on the short-term basis, what we need to do. And there is no competition, as we see it. A smarter and more intelligent energy infrastructure, smarter and more intelligent buildings, is not fighting wind, solar, renewables at all. I think the Esbjerg declaration we saw a few days ago is a great example. Super important, we need it for the future, but it will take several years, maybe 10 years, to really get it up and running, to really get the impact we need. And that's so much more why it's important that we right now, today, take the action to actually reduce the consumption as well. So it goes really, really hand in hand. And so it's a little bit remarkable. So it's a few 100 kilometers plus from here where we had that event a few days ago. Now here today we talk about the other hand, the energy efficiency side. And the overall headlines of what we follow here is three very simple principles. One, make sure we use less energy. So if we take our own campus in Danfoss, that's 250,000 square meters of production, R&D, technology, development. We spent or use today 70% less heat than we did in 2007, 45% less electricity to run that site, despite what happened in the meantime. Two, by reusing the energy we had, and we just heard in the speech before me that we should use and reuse energy. And sort of, if we look at our heating, so we reduced 70%. The next 15% we get from actually reusing the energy we have on the site. So, example, using the excess heat from our ventilation, from our data center, and from our manufacturing process. But in the city, it could also be from supermarkets. But in Danfoss there, we then provide the next 15% of the heat we need. Then the residual, the 15%, we make it green. So make the residual green, go to an electrical world. So just to say these priorities are very, very specific. And it's clear energy efficiency is slightly more nerdy, but it's no magic. It's really applying the right technologies, which are already there. And we make historical large investments in technology for the moment. We have never invested so much as we are now in the future. Nevertheless, there's so many solutions out there. For example, lowering this 1 degree in our heating system. And Dan, you were so nice to show this very tiny, small solution here that can actually, if you put it on a radiator, save you 30% of the energy. Still, there's hundreds of millions of radiators, even in Europe, that doesn't have it. It has an on-off. And it just shows that maybe we think we are great in Europe, and I think in many ways we are moving, but there's so much potential. Just one example, then is the heat recovery from our supermarkets, from our data centers, from our manufacturing processes, can give a huge impact. And the last tiny example I just wanted to share with you today is that 50% of the energy we use globally is in electrical motors. 50%. Only 20% of those motors have a regulation so that they always adjust capacity for what is needed. So they meet most motors, they start, and if you take the simplest example, a refrigerator, you know the sound when it starts and it runs, and then it stops again. Used to be dimensioned to the fact of the hottest day a year, or any other air conditioning system is dimensioned to the hottest day a year, which is maybe max 10%. And that's what it runs with. That's the energy it uses, also in the 90% plus of the rest of the year. So using variable speed steering motors can make a huge reduction as well. And again, we are talking about 50% of the energy consumption. So just with these small examples, I just wanted to share with you. This is not magic. It's about teamwork, setting the priorities, and working it step by step. So just to round it up, I think I can also not imagine a better timing for the meeting here today. And I really hope that together we can get inspired and get this agenda moving so that today renewables and energy efficiency goes hand in hand. It's not fighting with each other. But we need to move the energy efficiency now. For this region, it creates jobs. It creates higher competitiveness. So what we have done in our campus site alone, one site out of our 100 sites globally, we will do globally. But it's actually with payback times less than 3 years. And if you think about that, so it means Danfoss, we are more profitable today because we did it. So it's not only a question of doing the right things. It's really also a great business to do it. And for the moment where we see energy prices even skyrocketing, when we talk about 3 years, then look at it in the context of where the energy prices are now. Maybe for all the bad and reasons that we didn't want, but here of course we are. So sometimes I guess we all feel we are slightly behind. And even though you sometimes wonder in Denmark, we feel also we are slightly behind, but even though we are moving the agenda, but I think energy efficiency is really there where we can get ahead of the game now. And that's why it is so important, and that's why we welcome so much this fantastic cooperation and the chance for us to exchange here and find good ideas how to accelerate. For us in Danfoss, if this could be one of the meetings which would be thought of as the place where we got very concrete and specific, this would be our dream. And if we're a little bit emotional when you talk to us about this meeting, it's because energy efficiency has been the legacy of our company since the day we started. But we have never been so relevant with that agenda as we are today. And therefore we hope together that it's possible to curve this. And I just want to thank you all for the great opportunity to have a chance with such a high esteemed panel here to have a chance to say a few words. And I hope somehow we can exchange good ideas. We also have a lot to learn here, so let's exchange good ideas how to accelerate energy efficiency, hand in hand with the other initiatives. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much indeed, Kim. And now, I hope we have the technical side of things working. Yes, it is my great honor to welcome Minister of Energy in Ukraine, German Gulachenko. Please, Minister, thank you so much for joining us here today. We have a few hundred people here eager to hear what you have to share with us. The floor is yours, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, colleagues, and partners, I want to thank you, first of all, for your solidarity with Ukraine in this darkest hour. Let me express my gratitude to the International Energy Agency and the Danish Ministry of Climate, Energy and Utilities for organizing this event, which is really very important, and for this opportunity to address you today. We had a fruitful cooperation with Denmark, and we appreciate all experts' support that the Danish Energy Agency providing to the Ministry of Energy of Ukraine within the Ukrainian-Denmark Energy Partnership Program. Today is 105th day of Russian aggression against Ukraine. The aggression, which actually is genocide, and thousands of Ukrainians were killed, among them 262, and that is figures for today, children. Millions were forced to leave their homes, and hundreds of towns and villages were destroyed. We suffer a devastating impact on national economy. According to May data, the losses of the Ukrainian energy sector were estimated more than 2 billion euros. Every day we repair our energy infrastructure again and again because there is a lot of destruction. And since the beginning of the military aggression, more than 4 million and 200,000 settlements have been de-energized, wholly or partly due to the damage caused by the war. And more than 5 million consumers have been cut off from electricity supply. Today, for instance, I can give you the figures that still about something around 100,000 people have no gas in their houses, and something around 700,000 have no electricity. So that's really very difficult to repair. And what we did, we are trying to do this even when the war is coming. I mean, and that is also a lot of losses in, unfortunately, in the staff in our energy sector. Of course, we know that Russian war machine is fueled by income from fossil export. That is why the embargo on Russian oil, gas, and coal is essential to save people's lives and for bringing peace back to Europe. That is really why we support this, and that is why it's very important. The war pushes us to rethink the way we produce and use energy. We need more reliable sources of energy and smarter approaches to its consumption. When I say more reliable, I mean not only liberate from Russia fossil grid, but also sustainable, carbon-free, and environmental-friendly. On May 18th, the European Commission presented the Repower EU plan, the response to the energy hardship caused by Russian invasion of Ukraine. There is a double urgency to transform Europe energy system, ending the EU's dependence on Russia fossil fuels, which are used, of course, as usually they're used as not an economic but more than political weapon. And there are three pillars of this plan: diversification of energy supplies, energy efficiency, and accelerated rollout of renewables. During the last decade, Ukraine has made a huge progress towards the clean energy. Today, our energy mix is already around 70% carbon-free, and it's produced by nuclear generation, and renewables. From 2011 to 2021, the share of renewables increased from 4% to almost 14%. And that is really, really very important. And one of the aims which we already declared in our strategy is to increase the renewables by 2030 to up to 25% in the energy of Ukraine. Of course, we also have an impressive potential for hydrogen producing and green hydrogen in particular. The hydrogen strategy we already drafted. The hydrogen strategy will gain, and this strategy, and we announced some figures from this strategy to installation of something around 10 gigawatts of electrolyzers to reach 40 gigawatts of special purpose renewables by 2030 for green hydrogen production. One more step towards national energy independence on the green pathway is the bioenergy sector. According to preliminary figures and preliminary data, Ukraine is a country with a vast agriculture complex and can produce from 6 to 8 billion cubic meters of biomethane by 2050. Biomethane keeps all advantage of natural gas. It can be used for heating and energy generation, for industry purposes, and also for as a transport fuel. And of course, it's climate neutral. By the end of 2021, the Parliament of Ukraine adopted the essential bill to create a basis for biomethane market development. As I mentioned earlier, carbon-free and smart production of energy is just the first part of a solution on the pathway to energy independence and climate neutrality. The second part is smart consumption of energy, the energy efficiency. And the sooner it starts, the better it will be. The more benefits, environmental, economic, and even political it will bring. The aggressive war Russia is waging against Ukraine will leave our infrastructure badly damaged. In some territory, completely ruined. We will need to rebuild it. And somewhere from the scratch, it will demand huge efforts and investment. And at the same time, it will become an opportunity to reshape the Ukrainian energy sector accordingly to the goals of the 21st century as a part of the European Green Deal. Therefore, we should build the energy sector as it must be in Europe, that trend to be climate neutral by 2050. Post-war, Ukraine must be a model of energy efficiency, a successful case of green transition, a vivid example of the benefits that early action brings. The Russian aggression has demonstrated that the energy efficiency is not the issue of climate protection or householder saving only. It's also the issue of energy independence, a key component of state energy security, and its sustainable, innovative development. That is what I am calling to do to make this post-war Ukraine and rebuilding Ukraine after war a showcase of a new Europe energy policy, which is, of course, should be based on efficiency above all principle. To make Ukraine a benchmark how the comprehensive structure changes could be realized and realized quickly. Of course, the progress which we already had previous year in energy efficiency should be accelerated. In 2021, we adopted the bill about energy efficiency to implement the directive on energy efficiency. This bill has actually become the driver of change in the area. We refused from outdated administrative mechanism on energy efficiency and started shifting to modern European practices in energy audit and energy management system, energy eco-design, development of state programs that help to produce energy, reduce energy consumption. there are a lot of points of what we can do together, from smart grids that will decrease transmission energy losses to installation of energy storage system that will allow the use of green electricity generation better, from hydrogen and biogas cooperation to cooperation in green bonds market launch. On a separate note, I would like to mention the work of National Recovery Council was established by the President of Ukraine, and the task with development of investment and recovery plan, including the energy sector. The plan shall be present at the International Donors Conference to take place from 4th to 5th July in Lugano, Switzerland. Ukraine is ready for close partnership with EU member states, International Energy Agency, and its member to achieve solidarity results in the area of energy efficiency and energy security. At the majority of Ukrainians, and I hope the European Council will grant Ukraine with EU candidate status this month. But irrespectively of this decision, we should view Ukraine as a family member of United Europe, especially in such a fundamental field as energy. Since March 16, Ukrainian energy system is synchronized with the European network on transmission system operators for electricity and SUI. And we should strengthen our ties to make European energy independent and climate neutral, with Ukraine as an integral part of it. I thank to everyone, I thank to all member states who help us to withdraw Russian aggression, to withstand against it. Thank to all participants of the conference. And my warmest gratitude to Denmark, with long-standing Ukrainian partners in the areas of energy efficiency and green energy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Minister. I'd like to ask you a question. How have you managed to keep your energy system stable despite a large-scale invasion?
In fact, of course, it was very challenging task for us. And for instance, even before the war started, and if, just to give you the example that from November, Russian already stopped the war on energy sphere. So they, for instance, blockade coal imports to Ukraine from Kazakhstan. They stopped all possibility of transit through Russia and Belarus. And at that time, the main task was for us to quickly divert the supplying of coal, and we did it through sea by ships, and so we managed to do this. And what is very important also is that we were preparing for synchronization, which I already mentioned. So, and that was 3 days of isolated mode of the Ukrainian energy system. And the story is that on 23 at night, we were disconnected from Russia and Belarus grids, and in 4 hours it was started. And the readiness, which so in fact, we have the plan that we were not connected back to Russia and Belarus, even without the war. So we're not talking about the war. So we were preparing for this. And when the war started, of course, we make decision not to connect back our grids. And so we were working, the energy system generally work in isolated mode for 21 days. And then we finally synchronize with EU grids. And that's really very important, and that gives us this possibility. And of course, a lot of also decisions was made, which was made firstly in the history of Ukraine. For instance, the key factors was the Ukrainian nuclear generation. For the first time, all our nuclear power fleet, which is 15 energy blocks, was on duty, and Ukrainian generation produced more than 41, during the heating season, more than 41 billion kilowatts hours. So that is kind of records for us, but we did it, and so we did it, and we managed to stay strong. Our energy system was strong, even working isolatedly from Russia and Belarus. And I think that's some historical issue happened. I mean, that's happened the same day. This disconnection happened the same day when the Russians started the war, and so we did it. We still feel that even into the aggression, and I might say you that the war is very heavy, and of course we see, of course, a lot of losses in generation capacity now on the east part. So we still have the Zaporizhia and PP under occupation, but even in this situation, so we feel that our energy system is strong. So we understand what we need to do, and of course now we are looking for possibility. Yesterday it was a good decision. We started the first commercial. We already got the decision of the first small amount of commercial export of Ukrainian electricity to Europe, which is also important for us.
Quite impressive. Now I would like to give the Executive Director, Fatih Birol, the opportunity to ask a question.
Thank you very much, Dan. And Mr. Minister, it's a privilege for all of us that you are with us today, taking time from your busy schedule. Mr. Minister, you and your colleagues are source of inspiration to all of us. Your bravery. We are so happy to see you here with us. Mr. Minister, International Energy Agency at the IEA, we look at all energy sources, renewables, electricity, grids, oil, gas, coal, and we have been working with Ukraine in many areas, but I can tell you that very soon, Mr. Minister, I am looking forward to build a closer institutional ties with you and with your government, Mr. Minister. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you can feel it all the way to Ukraine. If you were here in the room, you would definitely be able to feel the warmth and the solidarity of everybody here. So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of this opening session, but we do have some housekeeping remarks. So the guru of energy efficiency, Brian Motherway, I give the floor to you.
Thank you. I'll make these remarks efficiently. So thank you very much, Minister Jorgensen and Kim. Just to add my gratitude and our team, we've been very warmly welcomed here, and the collaboration has been tremendous fun as well as very productive. So thank you, and of course to all our panelists, Minister, Commissioner, Dr. Birol, and of course Minister Galushenko, and all of you for joining us. We're delighted to be here in the global capital of energy efficiency, and we have a unique opportunity. We have more than 300 people here from over 60 countries. So do please talk to each other, network, get to know each other, and to help you do that, we have a special networking tool on the conference website. So sign in with your conference details. You can connect to everybody here. You can find out who's here, and you can connect to everybody. And equally, we have many, many more people joining us online. We're delighted to have you from all parts of the world, and you can join the conversation, of course, through social media, and particularly on Twitter. If you want to use the hashtags efficiency action or energy efficiency, you're able to connect to us all here and join the global conversation. So we're heading into our first break now, and then we will reconvene at 11:30 at 2 different parallel sessions. You're free to choose whichever session you'd like to join. If you'd like to join the session on cooling for global development, which of course is already featured in the conversation, please make your way back down the hill to the Alsik Hotel, where that session will take place on the first floor. There'll be plenty of people to guide you there. And if instead you'd like to join the session on a focus on consumers and citizens, you just have to go down the hill a little bit and turn right to the Salin building, where that will take place. And equally, our online audience can choose to join whichever session they want. To encourage you there in a timely fashion, we are serving coffee there now. So coffee is not here, but in those 2 rooms. So we encourage you to make your way there in a prompt fashion. And then, of course, lunch for everybody will be in the Alsik Hotel on the ground floor, very easy to find. And then we'll reconvene with 2 more parallel sessions at 2 o'clock in the same 2 venues, very easy to find. behind, and then we'll be back here at 3 o'clock for the main afternoon plenaries. So I'd ask our media friends to stay with us here in the room where we're going to have our press conference shortly. Everybody else, I just again thank you for participating in the morning session, and please make your way to whichever of the 2 rooms you'd like to participate in for the coffee break. Thank you very much.